Dear Bob, Barbara, and the children, this is Wednesday the 10th, and before you become alarmed, don't think I'm going to fill up this tape with a message. That would be a rather long one, even though it's run at high speed and on one side only, although I do have it set at stereo. First place, let me thank you for the tape. I know you said I could hold it until you got here, but I thought, well, I'd send you a message and at least let you know that I appreciated both things, the thing that you made for the side of my flash, and now I want you to make one for the other side, but I won't let you do it unless you let me pay you for it, because after all, this is what you do to make money, and there's no reason why you should do it for me for nothing. I appreciate the music. I used one piece out of it. I'm going to record on here one that I used of my own. It's a Spanish piece. And then the party that I was doing this for, after I'd recorded a number of pieces for this slide presentation, he brought over a ragtime record. And it was a little bit different than we had in mind, but it was good for what he wanted. It was, you know, well, you've heard this pianist play on Lawrence Welk's program, you know, the girl that plays the piano with the front of it off, the little stocky girl. Well, this is, I've forgotten his name, you would know it, I'm sure, Tommy, I think it was Tommy somebody, who was a ragtime artist, and this is the type of thing that he wanted. And we picked out a couple, most of them weren't any good, but we did pick out a couple that we thought were quite appropriate and put that on there. So with what you had, what I had, what he had, we certainly had more than enough. I enjoyed your tape and took off some of it so I could have it if I wanted for future use, or to listen to mainly. I'm kind of a classical music hound. In fact, I have very little else on the shelf. Almost all of mine is classical music, and I happen to be an addict to piano. So I get narrowed down, and too much so. Beethoven and Mozart are my favorite, and Beethoven tops. And so when I reach for a tape to play, and I like to play tapes while I'm working, I invariably reach for a Beethoven piano. I have one that is a Rachmaninoff that I play over and over and over. It's just one of those things that somehow or other it's the right kind of background music when you're working, and you just don't, it doesn't bother you, and yet it seems to be the kind of music that I want. The funny part about that piece, I have it on a record with Leonard Bernstein conducting the orchestra and Gary Graff, I think his name is, playing it. But I took this one that I have off the air, and it's played by Morna Limpany. And boy, oh boy, there's no comparison. She has just got tops over him. I used to put the record on the machine and the tape on the tape recorder and get them pretty close together, about the same piece in the same place in the tape and on the record, one a little ahead of the other. Then I'd play one and then play the other, and boy, there was no comparison. The tape was so much better and taken from the air, which of course isn't too bad, because we have an awfully good reception here, and we have a terrifically wonderful station. This WFMT is tops as far as classical music concerned. They take every year, they take the prize for broadcasting in classical programs. WEFM is very good. I don't like the announcers quite as well, but I do love the WFMT announcers. I'm not too crazy about, forgotten his name, the fellow that gives a commentary all the time. Let's see if I can see it. Oh, Studs Terkel. But I hardly ever listen to him, but the music is good. Of course, you know, when you turn on classical music just one after another, there'll be about 90% of it that you can't go for. Prokofiev and Mather, even Poulenc, I can't quite go. But some of the old masters I do enjoy, and then I enjoy picking out the ones I like, of course. So much for the music. I was over to see Daddy the other day. He had a friend out. Tony was over and helped him clean up the basement. And they did a pretty good job. They've got it in pretty good shape. He wanted me to buy his lathe. I would like to buy it. I am just about to the point where I'm turning it down, though, because I refuse to get any more in my basement. Of course, I would get rid of my old one, which is a handmade lathe, and his is an awfully good one, and there's a better sander on it and so forth. But I doubt if I would use it enough to pay to get it over here. That's the thing. I'm in the same boat that he's in, you know. I'm at the end of my days of doing a lot of work in the basement, so it seems rather silly. If he can't sell it, I might find a place for it, in spite of the fact it takes a little more room than mine. Mine is hanging from the wall, which makes it rather nice. The floor is clean underneath it, and I actually have just about all that I want to get into that basement right now. I think he's doing the thing he should do, is to get rid of it, because if he takes that down there and he hasn't got a place for it, he's going to have a garage full of machines and no place to put it, and it's going to be a long time before he's able to do it. And I'm just afraid that they will just go down there and gather dust. And not only that, he'd have the expense of transporting them down there. Anyone that does a lot of woodwork could use a number of things that he has. That shaper's a good one. He's going to sell that, of course. And in the old days, I would have loved to have the shaper. I gave a shaper away, though. A shaper and a saw. I had two saws, and a neighbor come over one day and wanted to know if he could borrow the saw. And I said, yes, you can borrow it, and don't return it. So we took it over and put it in his basement, and here not long ago he come over and he says, well, I want to bring the saw back. And I said, no, I don't want it back. I said, you keep it. So I don't use it. It's an old, I think of Smith's shop and everything else, but I can't think of the name of it. But it's one of the regular brands. Well, those children of yours are sure growing up. We enjoyed seeing the pictures of them, and it's a lot of fun when you have children to do photography, because when you're like myself, you're running around looking at roses and everything else trying to find something to take a picture of. But lately we have a group of old retired people here in town. There's a fellow that got it started. He gets 3 or 4 and sometimes as high as 6 of us fellows together, and we go all around the west side of Chicago. Sometimes we go as far as 90 miles to lunch on a Thursday. Every Thursday one of us drive, and we pick out different restaurants, and we try to find something maybe that's of a little interest on the way back. Sometimes we go to see, like we went to the town of Oregon one time, and on the way back we stopped at John Deere's home, the fellow that invented the first plow. So we get to see a lot of different restaurants. Some of them aren't so good, but at least we get out and there's 6 of us, and when 6 of us drive 30, 40 miles, well, you got a lot of things to talk about, and most of these fellows have had a lot of experiences, and they know so much about the town here. They've lived here all their life, and you hear a lot of things that you don't hear if you stick at home, like we have been doing. Firework is let off now, so it's probably be pretty slow, and I don't care. I just as soon. I've got some things to do outside to take care of, and I just as soon take it easy as to be pushing all the time. This slide job was just about the last. I do have one little thing coming up which I have pretty well in shape, and sometime I should I might put that on the end of this, and if you want to listen to it, you can. It's the Cremation of Sam McGee, and I have I've taken pictures. Oh, they were taken years ago, and some of them are so terrible they begin to be good. They were taken in the snow out in the backyard, illustrating this crazy Cremation of Sam McGee. And I'm going to give it to the Camera Club annual banquet. I usually give some silly thing, and this is about as silly as they make them, because the pictures are really funny. They're so crude that they're funny. I took an old gunny sack and filled it full of newspaper and stuffed it and tied it onto a little bobsled that I borrowed from next door and dragged this around in the snow and took pictures of it. And I made graves out in the yard, and I buried gold bricks, and you'll see when you hear the darn thing just how this thing worked out. Then I took a picture of Sam McGee in the fire, and I sandwiched a picture of my face in the flames taken of the fireplace one night. And it's so Buckeye that it really is funny. So when you hear it, well, you can imagine how you might illustrate it. Well, I'm not going to bore you with a lot on tape like this, because I could run on and on forever and never use it all up. And besides, I want to save just a little of it for some of these things that follow. Oh, I might add, I hope Barbara and the children can come when you come up again. I haven't called Leonard to see just when you're coming. I'm going to call him before I send this tape, because if it's too soon, I won't bother to send it. I'll give it to you.
Ya tengo yo la casita que tanto te prometí, llenita de margaritas para ti, para mí. Será un encanto de amores, será una cosa ideal, y entre romances y flores formaremos nuestro hogar. Ahora seremos felices, ahora podemos cantar aquella canción que dice así, con su ritmo tropical. Ay, la 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 la. Que Dios nos dé mucha vida negra y mucha felicidad. Dios nos dé mucha vida negra y mucha felicidad. Para completar la dicha y nuestra felicidad, hace falta una cosita. ¿Qué será? ¿Qué será? Será una cosa chiquita, por cierto muy singular. Es como una muñequita que alegrará nuestro hogar. Ahora seremos felices, ahora podemos cantar aquella aquella canción que dice así, con su ritmo tropical. Ay, la 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 la. Que Dios nos dé mucha vida negra y mucha felicidad. Que Dios nos dé mucha vida negra y mucha felicidad. Que Dios nos dé mucha vida negra y mucha felicidad.
There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The Northern Lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge. I cremated Sam McGee. Now, Sam McGee was from Tennessee, where the cotton blooms and blows. Why he left his home in the South to roam round the pole, God only knows. He was always cold, but the land of gold seemed to hold him like a spell, though he'd often say in his homey way, he'd sooner live in hell. On a Christmas day, we were mushing our way over the Dawson Trail. Talk of your cold, through the parka's fold, it stabbed like a driven nail. If our eyes we'd close, then the lashes froze, till sometimes we couldn't see. It wasn't much fun, but the only one to whimper was Sam McGee. And that very night, as we lay packed tight in our robes beneath the snow, and the dogs were fed and the stars o'erhead were dancing heel and toe, he turned to me and, "Cap," says he, "I'll cash in this trip, I guess. And if I do, I'm asking that you won't refuse my last request." Well, he seemed so low that I couldn't say no. Then he said with a sort of a moan, "It's a cursed cold, and it's got right hold till I'm chilled clean through to the bone. Yet 'tain't being dead, it's my awful dread of the icy grave that pains. So I want you to swear that foul or fair, you'll cremate my last remains." Well, a pal's last need is a thing to heed, so I swore I wouldn't fail. And we started on at the streak of dawn, but God, he looked awfully pale. He crouched on the sleigh and he raved all day of his home in Tennessee. And before nightfall, a corpse was all that was left of Sam McGee. There wasn't a breath in that land of death, and I hurried, horror-driven, with a corpse half hid that I couldn't get rid because of a promise given. It was lashed to the sleigh, and it seemed to say, "You may tax your brawn and brains, but you promised true, and it's up to you to cremate these last remains." Now, a promise made is a debt unpaid, and the trail has its own stern code. In the days to come, though my lips were dumb, in my heart how I cursed that load. In the long, long night by the lone firelight, while the huskies round in a ring howled out their woes to the homeless snows, oh God, how I loathed the thing. And every day that quiet clay seemed to heavier and heavier grow, and on I went, though the dogs were spent and the grub was getting low. The trail was bad, and I felt half mad, but I swore I would not give in. And I'd often sing to the hateful thing, and it hearkened with a grin. Till I came to the marge of Lake Labarge, and a derelict there lay. It was jammed in the ice, but I saw in a trice it was called the Alice May. And I looked at it, I thought a bit, and I looked at my frozen chum. Then here, said I with a sudden cry, is my crematorium. Some planks I tore from the cabin floor, and I lit the boiler fire. Some coals I found that were lying around, and I heaped the fuel higher. The flames just soared and the furnace roared, such a blaze you seldom see. And I burrowed a hole in the glowing coal, and I stuffed in Sam McGee. Then I made a hike, for I didn't like to hear him sizzle so. And the heavens scowled, and the huskies howled, and the wind began to blow. It was icy cold, but the hot sweat rolled down my cheeks, and I didn't know why. And the greasy smoke in an inky cloak went streaking down the sky. I do not know how long in the snow I wrestled with grisly fear, but the stars came out and they danced about ere I ventured near. I was sick with dread, but I bravely said, I'll just take a peep inside. I guess he's cooked, and it's time I looked. Then the door I opened wide. And there sat Sam looking cool and calm in the heart of the furnace roar. And he wore a smile, you could see a mile, and he said, please close that door. It's fine in here, but I greatly fear you'll let in the cold and storm. Since I left Plum Tree down in Tennessee, it's the first time I've been warm. There are strange things done in the midnight sun by the men who moil for gold. The Arctic trails have their secret tales that would make your blood run cold. The northern lights have seen queer sights, but the queerest they ever did see was that night on the marge of Lake Labarge. I cremated Sam McGee. I have since redone that. It's not very well done here. It sounds as though you're reading it. I've done it a little bit more dramatically. Whether it's good or not remains for somebody else to see. The following is for the children. It's something, you may have had this record called The Drop of a Hat. There's a lot of funny stuff in it, but I especially like this, the I Am a Gnu. And I'll put it on here. It's really for the kids. I have played it back, and the tape is stinko. One thing I said back there, which is correct, I got to talking about these Thursday trips. The thing I meant to mention was that I take my camera always, and I get some pictures that way. I got a lot of pictures to throw away, too, because they are quite similar. But we have a lot of fun with it, and it's one way to spend money, I guess. So here's the GNU.
A year ago, last Thursday, I was strolling in the zoo when I met a man who thought he knew the lot. He was laying down the law about the habits of baboons and the number of quills a porcupine has got. So I asked him, what's that creature there? He answered, it's a helk. I might have gone on thinking that was true. If the animal in question hadn't put that chap to shame and remarked, I ain't a helk, I'm a GNU. I'm a GNU. I'm a GNU. The nicest work of good nature in the zoo. I'm a GNU. How you do? You really ought to know who's wahoo. I'm a GNU. Spelt GNU. I'm not a camel or a kangaroo. So let me introduce, I'm neither man or moose. So GNU, I'm a GNU. I had taken furnished lodgings down at Rustington-on-Sea, whence I travelled on to Ashton-under-Lyme, it was actually. And the second night I stayed there, I was wakened from a dream, which I'll tell you all about some other time. Among the hunting trophies on the wall above my bed, stuffed and mounted, was a face I thought I knew. A bison. No, it's not a bison. An okapi. Unlikely. Could it be a hearty beast? I seem to hear a voice. I'm a ganu. I'm a ganu. Another ganu. I wish I could ganache my teeth at you. I'm a gnu. How do you do? You really ought to know who's who. I'm a gnu, spelled G-N-U. Call me bison or a copy and I'll sue. Nor am I in the least like that dreadful hearty beast. Oh, no. Gnu, I'm a gnu. Gnu. I'm a gnu.